All right, cool. Um, so I just wanted to continue some ideas from the last video, and since you know, it got kind of complicated with that patch at the end, so that's not one I've kind of finished. I wanted to start sort of from scratch, building one of these moving timeline type patches. Um, so the main thing here is, let's say you've got a grid shape. Let's give it grid shape. Let's give it a scale. Let's give it there, and a little material. Okay. So that shape is at 0, 0, 0. That's its position, right? Position. There we go. That's its position. So instead of just having something that moves centered on the screen, right? Like this is, I feel like this is every audio reactive patch that you see, kind of in principle. It's just one thing in the center of the screen that does this, kind of, reacting to the volume or whatever, however you want to set that. It's more sophisticated than that in most cases, but in principle, that's kind of it. So I wanted to make something that moves. So kind of the first thing I'm doing to get away from, literally get away from the center screen thing, is I'm using jitter.time. I'm stealing from the help file here. Okay. Don't need that, don't need that. This is the main message that you need. So what this does is, it's kind of connected to jit.world. It stops when jit.world is stopped. But you can also send in messages. So it's kind of like a fancy line object. In this case, I can have it looping. So this number really becomes like the origin point for the patches. Let me see. I guess for this I can just like scale it. I'll scale it, and let's say we took that and made it the z value of this position, and it's gone. So kind of here's the problem with animating stuff that way, is you're moving the shape itself, but the camera is still where it is. It's focused on 0, 0, 0. So to fix that, you're going to get the camera, JGL camera. You're going to get this, and we need to add a little bit to this value here. All right, we could do that. Let's say prepend position. Okay, I can plug that into there. But now they have the same position, and that's no good. So let me add a bit by doing this, like add 2 by default. Okay. So yeah, now your camera is ahead of the grid shape, but since it's a like fixed position, you can't really tell that there's movement happening. You could you can add a little more to the X and Y to kind of offset them. All right, so let's say instead of position here, let's take that. Now it's not moving. Oops. And here's something I was kind of clumsily mentioning. But I can take this value and say that's my origin point. The whole patch is going to be kind of based around that. Okay. Point. And the send and receives really help when you've got like tons of stuff going on and there's subpatch. And you just, you need to get this point to different objects. So here it seems a little redundant, but whatever. I'm going to do unpack. Do that. That. Okay, and then this would be for the X, this would be for the Y, and for the Z. That's how I'm going to offset the camera. Actually, these two I don't want +2 by default. It'll be +0 by default, so it starts nice and centered. Okay, that going there, and that going there. And it's looking a little weird. 2, 0, 0. The origin point. Oh yeah, because that's not the origin point. The origin point is right. We're moving forward on the z-axis, and we're still on the x and y. Okay, this guy's still. It's not moving, but if I do this, now it's stuck at 0, 0, 0. So to get something moving with it, it's a little more interesting happening. You can use jitter sketch. So it's jitter sketch, and I'm gonna give it this move to command, right? And that's gonna be the origin point as well. With jitter sketch in the help file, you've got a bunch of different commands. The simplest ones I think are like, cube, sphere. So let's say sphere, like a small sphere. It's going to be wherever the sketch is at that time. It's going to stamp it down. Right, so they're all centered there. If I do this, now you can see what was printed. I'm gonna go further ahead. Reset this. And just like I've got this global variable, basically origin point, I tend to try to find a way to reset it. When this thing resets. Oh yeah, it's not good at that. Well, here's what I'll do. Get the toggle. This toggle kind of independently controls jitter.time. So when that thing is a 0, that can be my reset. And I'll make that a send also called sketch reset. Okay, so it sends a bang. Then you receive the bang here. Okay, and that way it's not just a patch cable going across the whole patch. So every time you restart the, there we go. So I won't have it loop in this case. All right, it's 4 seconds long. Let's make that longer. Let's make it like 30 seconds. And then the whole thing will stop and reset after 30 seconds. All right, so yeah, there you go. Now you're using Sketch, you're stamping things down on this timeline. Gonna give it a message. About that. Should be going, let's see. Oh, I broke it. Let's see. I've got this time. Oh, I didn't start the animation. There you go. This is really the thing you have to hit to start it. And now that it's taking 30 seconds to move, these are all spaced closer together. Because I'm going from 0 to, what, 10. So let's spread things out further. Let's go from 0 to 100. I'm kind of recreating that other patch from the end of the last video at this point. There you go. So now I'm drawing. I can change the camera angle. Can go above it. Here we go. I can change the kind of how close I am to that origin point. And yeah, this is kind of like the basic setup for animating things in time. On a timeline and moving around. So I showed a bunch of little patches in the last video, and this is kind of the workflow that I had from some videos I made like over the last few years. I work really slow apparently, and I just kind of like pick this stuff up every couple of months to try and get better about that. But in those videos, I was doing this kind of thing a little differently with like a line object instead of jitter.time because that wasn't out yet. Anyways, I have a folder full of all these different little like templates and different ideas, like one-off jitter ideas, and so I've kind of been trying to figure out how to incorporate all of those into this timeline type of patch, so I can like deploy them over time and get them reacting to stuff coming out of Ableton. That is a little vague, so let me pull up the patch I'm working on. That is whole bunch of sub patch windows, blah blah blah. All right, so this patch is a little involved at this point. But boop, it is kind of the same basic idea as the last thing I was showing, right? I've got a center point. I've got the camera. Hold on. Actually, I have most of the controls for this in here because I have a little iPad with Mira running on it. So I don't need this window open. Let me open Mira up. Okay, it's coming. There it is. Okay, so I can reset my timeline there. Here's my camera control like I was just showing. I just have it hooked up to be controlled on my iPad here. All right, I can control the Y, the X here. And I have a couple of other things like the JitGL multiple setup that I had in one of the other videos. Real basic with some, it's like tetrahedrons or whatever, little pyramid diamond things. I've got that set up down here. Right, like this was a patch that I did kind of one-off, and I was able to copy paste it into here and actually like put it on the timeline. I've got another one, another JGL multiple thing coming up here. Here it is. Right, it's actually a bunch of they're technically toruses, they're donuts. I can rotate them, I can spread them out, I can control their scale. Another thing I've got is, oh, this is actually gonna like semi stop the patch. Let me see. Nope. Yeah, I had JitGL path. Pretty sure I showed that in one of the other videos. This little JitGL path thing. That's a little too hard to see. There we go. Make this wider. All right, all these like vines growing. That's a JitGL path patch I did a while back. And you know, I feel like this is a good way to reuse the ideas that I have and kind of iterate on them. Right, and oh, here's the 3D model thing I showed in the last video. Kind of at the end of the last video, the like JitGL model sequencer almost. So here, let me start over. I can turn this guy on. There's all the models. I can spread them out. Right, and I've got different things for like the scale of these or the spread of them. Let's see, my models, I could have more of these, I think. I can do like 20. Yeah, that's cool with 20. I'm still at 60 frames per second. All right, and I can change the scale of my models. There we go. Here you can kind of see that sine wave action a little more clearly. I have it set up. I'm not really doing much with it yet. The JitGL sketch, like I was just kind of showing in the last thing. I'm gonna have this basically like reacting to MIDI notes. Let's see what else I got. The draw distance. I don't know if this actually helps the frame rate or not. I would imagine it does if you're not drawing so much. But here I'm dipping down a little bit. I am letting it run for a while. What else have I got? Oh, I've got a bunch of different things on the center here. Well, I was gonna put let's see, I've got these two objects, I've got this like star donut thing. There's a blank space here because let me reset. And I have that box there to kind of tell where my starting point is. So my centered objects. Let's see. Here's the sphere and the torus, this little ring system there. Here's this donut, which I got to that shape and then I saved all the attributes. That's why it looks like a mess here. And the other thing I was just trying was setting up a model to be, to follow that center point. But when I load this, it does kind of like hold the patch up a bit. So I'm going to turn off the JIT world. It's off. I'm going to load that. Got that. That's a button on my Mira control here. So let's see if that worked. There we go. Yeah, I made it an 8-ball. Get it? So yeah, this is kind of the combination of all the different little patches I was working on and different workflows I was kind of developing, moving on a timeline, setting up these JitGL multiple things, and the frame circle, the JitGL sketch drawing stuff. I need to get this patch hooked up to live, so that I can kind of animate all this stuff, have it reacting to the music. Working on a track for that, and yeah, I don't know, this is like pretty far from ready to share, but I would like to share this eventually, or kind of break it down into reusable modules that I don't know, people could make moving type videos with. Anyways, I don't really see a lot of this type of stuff done in X, so hopefully that's useful to somebody. It's got a lot of errors. I gotta fix those errors. But anyways, that's that. Be back soon, I hope. Thank you.